Efe Ajagba stops Iago Kiladze in the 5th round, but not before getting dropped himself in the 3rd. Now, Ajagba has been hyped up by PBC and the PBC fans as the next big thing in heavyweight boxing. I mean, there were people ready to crown this guy as a future world heavyweight champion when he's only had how many fights? Let me check. That was his 12th fight against Kiladze, and he hasn't fought anybody with a pulse. Kiladze included, by the way. Kiladze is not somebody who should be troubling anybody who's going to make it at world level. But he troubled Ajagba. And that is troubling if you're pinning your hopes on Ajagba as some type of future champion. If we have a look at Kiladze's record, and I've seen him fight a number of times, he's been stopped 5 times, so 4 prior to his fight against Ajagba. Was stopped early in his career at cruiserweight by Yuri Kalenga, and that was in 2 rounds he was knocked out in. He was stopped 3 times in a row in 2018. Once by Adam Kaunaki, then by Michael Hunter, then by Joe Joyce. And interestingly, it's all around the same time in the fight. Around the 6th round, 5th round is where he's been getting stopped. Same against Ajagba. But none of these guys hit the canvas against Kiladze. Kaunaki didn't hit the canvas. Hunter didn't hit the canvas. Joyce didn't hit the canvas. But Ajagba hit the canvas. Kiladze, people, not only is he not a big puncher, but he was badly hurt when he dropped Ajagba, and he was moving backwards. Think about that. This is not a guy who had all his faculties about him, and his legs were solid underneath him. And then he caught a guy coming in, and you know the forward momentum of the punch and the forward momentum of the guy coming at him doubled the impact. No. This is a guy in Kiladze who was all at sea. He was like a drunken sailor in there. Seriously hurt, didn't have his legs underneath him, and the punch didn't really look to have that much on it. I mean, how could it when a guy's legs are so shaky and he's not a massive puncher or even a big puncher to begin with? So serious questions have to be asked about Efe Ajagba's chin. And not only did he look vulnerable in terms of punch resistance, but he looked slow in there as well. He looked sluggish, and it could be a case, I was listening to Boxing Beats and Rhymes talk about this fight, and he said that Ajagba looks disinterested. Maybe he's just not excited about his boxing career at this point. And there could be an element of truth to that, because he has looked sharper in other fights. But then again, he's been fighting such a poor level of opposition up until this point that maybe it flattered to deceive. Maybe this Kiladze fight has shown us more of the real Efe Ajagba. Who knows? Look, he's only a novice heavyweight at this point, and he could improve vastly in the future. But when you look at Efe Ajagba's amateur record, and I talked about this in previous videos, because there were people who are very, very big on Ajagba who would, ask me questions about him in the comment section of some of my videos. And they were ready to crown Ajagba as the next big thing in heavyweight boxing. And I said, well, let's wait till he's fought somebody with a pulse. And in one of the videos, I also talked about Ajagba's amateur record. Because yes, he had an extensive amateur career, but anytime he was in there against any of the recognizable names, he lost. Go look at Ajagba's amateur record. I ain't lying. And I did a previous video about this. That's not a good sign, people. That anytime this guy came up against one of the, well-known top amateurs, he's losing the fight. So how good is he really? Look, amateur boxing and pro boxing are different. Some guys, they just do very well as amateurs, but when they turn pro, they can't replicate the same success, and vice versa. Some guys don't do particularly well in the amateurs, but when they turn pro, they do great. But on the evidence of this fight, Efe Ajagba has got a long, long, long way to go. He does not look anywhere near as impressive as a young AJ coming up in his 11th or 12th fight, or even a young Daniel Dubois coming up right now. Dubois is looking more impressive than this guy, people. Dubois fighting better opponents than this guy. I mean, well, not his last couple of opponents, but the likes of the Kevin Kingpin Johnsons, probably even Nathan Gorman are better than this guy. And Daniel Dubois was doing very well in those fights. Efe Ajagba struggling against Kiladze. It's not a good look as far as I'm concerned. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. You're really going to have to pump your brakes on Ajagba at this point, but it does make me laugh that when you scroll down to the comment section of this highlight video, you see a bunch of apologists for Ajagba. You do see some people who are very concerned, but the general tone of people's comments is that you can tell they like Ajagba. If that was a Matchroom prospect who had been dropped like that by somebody who should never be dropping him, they would be tearing that guy to shreds. But because it's a PBC guy who's been hyped up, they're kind of giving him a pass, or they're going easy on him when it comes to the criticism. It is interesting. And I bring this up because you have to be cognizant of narratives which get pushed by certain promotional outfits, particularly PBC, because they are real strong when it comes to their propaganda. And now you're seeing some of the reality behind the propaganda. Efe Ajagba, very vulnerable. Now, of course, he could get his act together and go on to be a top heavyweight. Tyson Fury did it, right? Tyson Fury was getting dropped by people that he never should have been getting dropped by. The likes of Nevin Pikic, Steve Cunningham, who, yes, he was a top world level cruiserweight, but he was never a puncher at cruiserweight, much less heavyweight. And he was coming, towards the end of his career. So Tyson Fury has been in that situation. I mean, going life and death with John McDermott, but at least with Tyson Fury, there was an obvious excuse. When he fought the 2 fights against John McDermott, he really wasn't in shape. Early in Tyson Fury's career, he wasn't taking training seriously. It's not until he hooked up with his uncle Peter that he started taking training seriously, and you could see a marked improvement once he did hook up with him. And then in the Steve Cunningham fight, I do think that Cunningham's style gave Fury problems, and I suspect that kind of style would still give Fury problems if he was to face it again. He didn't have his uncle Peter in the corner for him that night. And as such, I think he got more hot-headed than he would have done had Peter been there with him. So with Fury being an erratic character in and out of the ring, you could kind of see the reasons for those lackluster performances. And even still, when Fury got dropped by the likes of Nevin Pikic and Steve Cunningham, he walked on to the punches. And he was fighting guys who was, their legs were solid at the time when they threw them shots. Not a guy like Kiladze who was literally out on his feet. And he's not even a puncher. And he hits Ajagba with a fairly innocuous looking shot, and Ajagba's on the canvas. People, that's concerning. That is concerning. So, yeah, I was never one of these people who was right out the gate saying, oh, Ajagba's amazing. No, he ain't fought nobody. It's, he's a physical specimen and reminds people of Wilder because he's kind of tall and gangly, although he's significantly heavier than Wilder. They like the fact that he throws his punches straighter, at least prior to this fight, than a young Deontay Wilder did. But I don't see the spirit in him that a young Deontay Wilder had. Because Wilder, even though he was wild and reckless and his technique looked horrible at the best of times on the way up, he had this ferocious spirit, which we still see him have now. This ferocious spirit in him and a certain knack for landing the big right hand. Ajagba just looks a bit more predictable, less dynamic, less explosive, a bit more clunky, and maybe a bit chinny. I know Deontay Wilder was dropped by Sconias, but we don't have any footage of that fight to understand the nature of that knockdown. We do have footage of this fight, and I'm telling you people, that was a disturbing knockdown. It's not like Kiladze was moving forward and putting all his weight into the shot. No, he was moving back on rubbery legs through a fairly innocuous looking right hand, and down went Efe Ajagba. Not a good look. So the PBC spin meisters and the PBC fanboys are either going to have to jump ship or they're going to have to do some serious work when it comes to their propaganda if they're hoping to patch his reputation back up. But as a neutral boxing fan, I'm skeptical about Ajagba, but I'm certainly not writing him off yet. Yeah. If he gets with the right training team, if he gets his head in the right place and gets taught the right things, there's potential there, But as ever with boxing, it's the intangibles that you need to know about a fighter. You need to know about his heart. You need to know about his chin. You need to know about his instincts. You need to know about how he reacts on the big stage, because not all fighters are built for the big stage. Not all fighters are built for that big moment where all the pressure's on and you're under the lights. It's go time. Now you got to perform. Not all fighters can do that. There are plenty of fighters who have got the physical attributes and ability, but they don't have the mentality to pull it off, to perform to the highest or to the best of their ability under the bright lights. So these are the intangibles. Does Efe Ajagba have them? There's loads of question marks over this guy at the moment. Maybe he can answer them in due course. Maybe he can't. It's going to be interesting to find out whether he can or can't. So drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel. It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.